Welcome to the B2T show. This is Rick, your host, here on Saturday, September 28th, and we are talking saving the Republic and a little bit of update on the plan that's going to take this great plan, or the vicious globalist plan, down. It's going to be quite exciting to dig into this. Again, our republic is under attack. You see Obama and Hillary here, and the whole FBI, CIA, as well as the NSA, which is the clappers and the Brennans of the world, just putting a hammer to the republic. IRS, the Federal Reserve, IRS and the Federal Reserve just saying, we the bankers, not we the people, we the bankers. And here's a climate change flag with the American flag down to the bottom. It's just sad stuff. But anyway, hey, thanks for joining me. Got a bunch of people already on. We got Thelma came on from Central Pennsylvania, Tracy from South Louisiana, Gwyneth KC from Kansas City, and then where else are we from? Montana. We got New Mexico in the house, Baton, Texas in the house, Rapid City. I saw somebody that I think was from Australia, New Zealand. Ken from New Zealand's here. Thank you so much. So probably missed some of you. Florida, Phoenix, Arizona, Virginia in the house. Thank you guys all for being here. Let's dig in, because there is just a tremendous amount of stuff going on, obviously, in this war. The silent war is now becoming more apparent to everybody, which is probably a good sign as we try to wake up more people and the Great Awakening starts happening. That may even accelerate more when we get Code Monkey and 8chan up. Here he is. He's giving an update. This was today at 7:33 p.m. or I'm sorry, last night. He says everything should make sense soon. In the final stages of setting up new systems now. I'm not going to promise a date yet, but things are looking optimistic. So this was him doing this on Friday night, and rumors were Monday or Tuesday, so he's not putting a date out there, but 8chan's coming back. That's exciting. Look what Trump says about this whole fiasco. He's got a 38-second deal that he just tweeted. Let's hear tonight at 4:14 p.m. Here he is.
What's going on now is the single greatest scam in the history of American politics. The Democrats want to take away your guns. They want to take away your health care. They want to take away your vote. They want to take away your freedom. They want to take away your judges. They want to take away everything. We can never let this happen. We're fighting to drain the swamp, and that's exactly what I'm doing. And you see why we have to do it. Because our country is at stake like never before. It's all very simple. They're trying to stop me because I'm fighting for you, and I'll never let that happen.
Yeah, they're trying to stop. He's fighting for us. I saw Tracy from Michigan up there. So my daughter is in the Detroit area and 8.5 months pregnant. So I should be getting a call anytime soon to be grabbing a flight to Michigan to go check out, hopefully, my first grandson here soon. But anyway, I wanted to introduce the sponsor. This is a sponsor, new sponsor. The refundsecret.com is what you want to go to, refundsecret.com. Urgent announcement from the research firm who showed 4 million Americans on how to take advantage of Social Security loophole that made retirees so much money that the U.S. government had to shut it down. Thanks in part to the 2008 bailout, you can claim a refund worth as much as $23,157. There is rarely publicized secret that allows Americans to claim payouts, thanks in part to the 2008 bailout. If you were one of the millions of Americans who were furious when the government bailed out Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, I've got good news for you. Thanks to a little-known loophole, the government is not publicizing. Thousands of Americans are receiving payouts, thanks in part to the 2008 bailout. In some cases, these payouts can be worth up to 5 figures annually. We've already showed dozens of folks how to cash in on the secret stream of income. Like Lawrence L., who tells us he made $1,550 in less than 2 weeks, and John K. from Boynton Beach, Florida, who made over $52,000 thanks to this loophole. Richard A. shares that he made $7,000 in roughly 6 months, and Shirley M. from Texas made $3,652 in just 4 months. So, how much will your 2008 payout be worth? Find out by clicking the link below and watching the free video. Again, that's refusesecret.com. Links down below, refusesecret.com. Let's move into some exciting things here. I wrote this on Trump's tweet here, dark to light, the dirty CIA, or C_A, right? What did Trump say? He says, wow, they got caught. End the witch hunt now. It's got the CIA intelligence here. Here's the Federalist saying intel community secretly nixed whistleblower demand of first-hand info. So they literally had to come up with a new form to put this trap in place. And like we talked about, it's just a trap that's going to trap them even more. Wonder if I still have that, the trap. Yeah, there it is. Let me show you that. So I showed you this last night too. This is the Trump trap, right? So here's Pelosi thinking she's going to get him with Ukraine. Yeah, we're going to get him with Ukraine. But all of a sudden, boom, the Trump trap is closing right in on the whole deep state. That's exactly what's happening to them now. And as they try to destroy the republic, as this talks about IRS and Obama and Hillary, and here's some of the founders saying, look, like you couldn't even keep the republic, right? That's what this was all about. But I tell you what, this article is quite intriguing. Intel community secretly gutted requirement of first-hand whistleblower knowledge. So you used to not ever be able to be a whistleblower unless you had first-hand knowledge. Federal records show that the intelligence community secretly revised the formal whistleblower complaint form in August 2019. They knew they needed to get this trap set, and so they literally had to change the form, the whistleblower form, to eliminate the requirement of direct first-hand knowledge of wrongdoing. Between May 2018 and August 2019, the intelligence community secretly eliminated a requirement that whistleblowers provide direct first-hand knowledge of alleged wrongdoings. This raises questions about the intelligence community's behavior regarding the August submission of the whistleblower complaint against President Donald Trump. The new complaint document no longer requires potential whistleblowers who wish to have their concerns expedited to Congress to have direct first-hand knowledge of the alleged wrongdoing that they are reporting. Obviously, they did not think Trump would release that transcript. I think it was a brilliant move. People like Bongino and others think it was a bad precedent to set. This is about exposing these fools. And I tell you what, this is as you know, when the Russia hoax was going in, Mueller, he couldn't talk out that much, and he had to be careful because they didn't want to get obstruction of justice charges, and they beautifully played that 2+ year event. But now, ever since Mueller's over with, if there's a false report or anything, Trump is using his bully pulpit and just nailing them. And so I think it's a beautiful plan. I think it's all part of the plan here. The brand new version of the whistleblower complaint form, which was not made public until after the transcript of Trump's July 25th phone call with the Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky, and the complaint addressed to Congress were made public, eliminates the first-hand knowledge requirement and allows employees to fill whistleblower complaints even if they had zero direct knowledge of underlying evidence and only heard about wrongdoing from others. The internal properties of the newly revised disclosure of urgent concern form, which Intelligence Community Inspector General requires to be submitted under the Intelligence Community Whistleblower Protection Act, show that the document was uploaded on September 24th, 2019 at 4:25 p.m., just days before the anti-Trump complaint was declassified and released to the public. The markings on the document state that it was revised in August 2019, but no specific date of revision is disclosed. So there you have it. This goes on in more detail, but the whole point is that it literally changed the document so they could actually try to entrap Trump. Not going to happen, not going to work. Here's another Epic Times saying, the anonymous whistleblower complaint accused Trump of using the power of his office to solicit interference from a foreign country in the 2020 election has been linked to an investigative journalist organization partially funded by George Soros himself. So we can go to the Epic Times and start looking at this. And bottom line is that here it is, this organized crime and corruption Reporting Project. George Soros always uses these fancy long names that sound good. So the whistleblower complaint makes reference multiple times to a report published by the Organized Crime and Corruption Reporting Project, OCCRP, titled Meeting the Florida Duo Helping Giuliani Investigate for Trump in Ukraine. George Soros' Open Society is listed as among the top donor in most of the financial records posted by OCCRP's website. 2017, OCCRP penned an article broadly critical of the work of opponents of George Soros' work in Macedonia. In an article titled How Macedonia's Scandal-Plagued Nationalists Lobbied America's Right and Pulled Them into an Anti-Soros Crusade, the organizations wrote that America's right has become frequently interested in what one writer termed a battle royale within the tiny Balkan country. On one side of the Macedonia's conservative former ruling party, portrayed by its newfound U.S. supporters as a staunch defender of free markets and traditional morality. On the other, they say, are nefarious left-wing opponents backed by billionaire financier George Soros. So this goes on for quite a while as well, but the point is that Soros is behind it. Surprise, surprise. Yeah, so this is the whole orchestrated deep state attack. And what's funny is that, and I was saying, hey, go get Dan Bongino's book, Exonerated. I still am a big supporter of Dan Bongino. But I just read the first paragraph, and there's two major problems with it already. It's like I'm shocked that Dan, and I don't know if Dan's just trying to stay away from Q as much as possible, but he talks about it. There's no secret society involved, which is a bunch of baloney, absolutely false, wrong reporting by Dan Bongino in his book. Sorry, Dan, but you can't ignore the Q movement and act like it's not happening. And then he also said that he accepted the supposed conspiracy fact that Russia hacked the DNC, which only CrowdStrike said that. And to accept that and not understand Seth Rich and the WikiLeaks difference in the timing and all the evidence we have to show that it was not hacked remotely is just naive. So anyway, I just want to let you know that Dan Bongino does not understand QAnon and is ignoring facts that we all know in the QAnon movement. So sad that he very beautifully documented, awesome book. Don't get me wrong, as far as the general theme of who the bad guys are and what they did in Spygate, but to not link it back to a secret society and to not understand the whole Seth Rich and the fact that the speed of the copy was from a thumb drive and not remote is just sad. Come on, Dan, wake up. That's just sad. He's one of the most respected sources on Spygate, and so you can't get big things like that wrong. Not understanding the secret societies is a little sad. And so anyway, I'm overall a big Dan Bongino fan and still listen to him because he brilliantly uses, I guess, sources that are mainstream media sources, conservative and liberal, and actually deciphers. And so he's probably got a role. Maybe he's playing a part in the, basically exposing the deep state without specifically talking about the secret societies, without specifically talking about anything to do with QAnon. Maybe that's his role. And again, this is vote.co, VOAT.co, one of my favorite places to be that I point you guys to all the time. It says, wonder why Hillary Clinton came out of the woods when President Trump said CrowdStrike and the server in Ukraine. So if you missed my show last night, make sure you go see that. I detail out CrowdStrike and how important CrowdStrike is and how this was part of the plan. Of that they just got caught in a huge trap, like I showed you earlier, because CrowdStrike is now becoming part of the consciousness of what is this? And the fact is that they're a part of the whole money laundering operation. Their stock is crashing. And it's exciting to see how we are actually exposing that type of stuff. It says, because Trump hit a nerve, the server, what went missing, is tied to the Awans, Palestine IT clan working for the Democrats used in blackmail Congress members, i.e. the reason Supreme Court Justice Roberts' decision was reversed to pass Obamacare. The debunking of the Russia hoax. Seth Rich is on that server along with Hillary missing emails, pay for play, Benghazi, money laundering, organ harvesting, child human trafficking, Uranium One, spying by Five Eyes, etc. And now that the deep state knows POTUS knows, like Q said, they have it all. They're going into full panic mode to stop him, no matter the cost. Thanks to Biden and his son Hunter, they opened up Pandora's box, where all the dirty secrets are kept. Notice how the MSM is in bed with the Dems, deflecting from Biden, bragging how he got the Ukrainian prosecutor fired for investigating his son. That's why Hillary came out of the woods. She's in full panic mode. The depths of corruption is unimaginable and must be carefully and surgically removed. Be patient, patriots. Stay alert and pray for POTUS and our great nation. That's exactly right. It's exactly what we need to be doing. Susan Rice is actually even showing people Obama put call transcripts on top secret. 2. The former National Security Advisor, Susan Rice, acknowledged last night that the Obama administration moved transcripts of conversations with foreign leaders onto the same top secret server where Trump administration stored his recent phone call with Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky. There you go. So even they're having to admit, even the deep state mess is having to admit that everything they're attacking Trump for, they did as well. Especially this is just normal protocol when you have sensitive information. You want to be a very sensitive area. You want to put it on, especially with all the leaking going on, right? And so that's become clear that every one of their arguments is being shut down. Trump has stumbled onto, this anon says, the mothership of all New World Order, C_A corruption. And it is based inside the Ukraine. A fight worth winning. Woo! And I don't think it's stumbling. I think that's right. It's not really, he hasn't stumbled into it. This is part of the plan. They've known about this for forever. Here is Trump talking about it in a little more detail. It says, whistleblower complaint is completely different and at odds from my actual conversation with the new president of Ukraine. The so-called whistleblower, which really you can't whistleblow on a president. That's the first thing. He's got broad powers, and the whistleblower is supposed to be first-hand knowledge, as we talked about earlier, but also it's supposed to be people in the intelligence agency, right? And obviously, what the form they used, Trump's not part of that. But the so-called whistleblower knew practically nothing in that those ridiculous charges were far more dramatic and wrong. Just like little, look, he uses little, L-I-D-D-L-E, because that points us right to that organization about little kids, etc., that Adam Schiff is, that WikiLeaks just took out. Go see my show tomorrow if you want to go see more detail about that. Then he continues, just like little Adam Schiff fraudulently and illegally inserted his made up and twisted words into my call with the Ukrainian president to make it look like I did something very wrong. He then boldly read those words to Congress and millions of people, defaming and libeling me. He must resign from Congress. So that's the second time he's asked for the resignation, and there's a lot of action being taken. Jeff Stewart, how you doing, buddy? Good to see you. Here is Josh Hammer talking about if the CIA or other intelligence operatives are using their access to sensitive information or to interfere in our political process, then that is a lot more frightening than a president raising the widely reported corruption of a political opponent with the president of the country where the alleged corruption took place. And so this is a whole article that talks more detail about that, but that's exactly right. The whistleblower complaint isn't a whistleblower complaint. It's a closing argument, right? That's exactly the way that was written, and it's sad. Look at this, Lisa Crowley saying, impeach this, right? Try to impeach this. Right? When you got 95% of the geography of the United States all red, then you're basically not fighting for we the people. And just like I say in the graphic here, you are basically trying to destroy the republic through the deep state operatives in the government, through the IRS and the Federal Reserve, through the Obama administration, and weaponizing everything possible, as well as what SB2 would call the witch right here. Right? So, tell you what, this is war, guys, and it's a little scary from a standpoint that we need to be real careful. So I talked about the exonerated book, Dan Bongino. He's still an awesome man from a perspective of fighting for what's right. But I think he must be playing a role where he's not supposed to even touch Q or even the general knowledge of Q. That's just what's wild. And the fact that we have secret societies, come on, Dan. But anyway, here he is saying this guy weaponized his position, talking about John Brennan, who basically calling more whistleblowers. Hey, more whistleblowers, come out. And so Dan Bongino is talking to Brennan. He says, this guy weaponized his position as head of CIA to violate the civil rights of multiple Americans associated with Donald Trump. Anyone who has information on his grotesque corruption should immediately seek the whistleblower protection. So I bet you there are some whistleblowers out there that could nail Brennan. I don't think we need it because we already have it all, but it would be interesting to see if that would actually happen. Eric Trump piped in here. He says, update. We have now raised almost $15 million in small dollar donations, including 50,000 new donors since Speaker Pelosi started this impeachment charade 72 hours ago. Unbelievable numbers. Keep it going. You and the Dems are handling @real Donald Trump the win in 2020. Is that not funny? 50,000 new donors to the Trump campaign since this impeachment started. It's like, woo! Lauren saying the Ukraine's the keystone. Could be part of it. And I think they have multiple meanings. I did a decode on Keystone being the actual helicopter of Ghislaine Maxwell, right? As well as there's been other Keystone decodes. I think in the Matrix is saying it's us, we're the Keystone, waking up, right? The Great Awakening. But yeah, Ukraine is going to be key, no question about that. But 50,000 new donors, $15 million in small dollar donations. This is America stepping up because we understand the republic is under attack. And Tracy Beans gets into it a lot more. She goes through this whole thing about how she's not part of the inside and disclaimers and all that type of stuff. But she gets into the meat of actually talking and going and actually looking at some people. And so she says, let's get to it. At the start of September, I was asked to make a trip to DC to meet in person with several of my best sources. Most of these sources had become friends, so a request to come out wasn't unusual. When I mentioned that I might not be able to make it out until October, I was told, better not wait if you want to stay ahead of the news. So I took that seriously and flew out there last week. I was not disappointed that I did. Here's a general overview of what was discussed. Indictments. The subject of indictments of key Spygate figures were discussed at length. Everyone I spoke with remained highly confident there would be indictments involving the DOJ and FBI. Evidence from their day-to-day activities on their jobs, as well as upcoming calendar appointments, were among the multiple ways they verified this to me. It was made clear to me that there are already several cases lined up and ready to go. A wave of them was the phrasing used. The green light has not yet been given, but it's expected to be imminent. This from the grunts in the trenches, based on what they currently working on or are being asked to not work on. I got the impression that McCabe should not be resting easy, nor should Mr. Comey. Shifting focus of the rollout. So this will frustrate some of you, but the point is, again, Patriots are in control, guys. This is a military operation, and they had this whole thing with John Solomon and all the information on Ukraine ready to go. and seeing if they would pounce on anything. And they did. They pounced on Ukraine, and wow, the big trap came on them, right? So the military operation is in any military intelligence operation is going to have to respond to your enemy. But again, we didn't start it until we knew we had won. We had got the technology. We had got all this information and bugged all the deep state. We knew who most of the players are. And now, so this is an update on the plan, if you will, at least from Tracy Bean's sources. Much of our time was spent discussing the Ukraine, specifically the role of the State Department. And this is before the whole whistleblower thing came out, which was interesting. Names like Newland, Kerry, Clinton, McCain, and others were discussed at length. I was told that the attention and focus is going to start to shift from the DOJ and FBI to the State Department's dirty as all get out, right? This is because the FBI DOJ side is just about ready to roll in terms of disclosure indictments, but state is a different beast. According to what I was told, the legal pathway to the biggest fish goes to the State Department and starts in the Ukraine. According to our discussions, Ukraine was going to come into major focus because both sides of the establishment aisle got dirty in the Ukraine and left themselves exposed. It's a pathway to the Clinton machine, the Soros machine, the neocon machine, the neoliberal machine, not to mention organized crime in both Russia and our own. Note, this update was compiled on the 20th of September for reference. A bug knocked me on my butt, which delayed it going out. That's regrettable only because of the week's events regarding the Ukraine. It's a bit of a confirmation of the above. Not without concerns. For the first time in any of our discussions over the past several years, I detected some concern on the parts of the grunts in the field. The concern is not in being able to make the cases most have already made, but in what the fallout will be once the partisan politics of the moment are inserted into the whole concoction. This is important, so I want to expand as much as possible on this point. On prior occasions, the discussion of how to avoid using any of this as a political weapon in 2020 had been brought up. In the past, I was made to feel confident that the goal was not partisan, but to actually clean up the real problems within our system. I do not believe this has changed. On this trip, I was told explicitly that Trump and Barr have the establishment's nuts in a vice. Not just Spygate plotters, and not just our domestic establishment. I was told due to events in 2017 and into 2018, they now have more evidence than they originally anticipated when the op, their words, was put into motion. They expected to catch certain fish in their net and did, but through events which I cannot get explicit about, a treasure trove of crap was uncovered, discovered, which now allows them to go all the way up the chain in multiple Five Eye countries. Now this sounds great, right? And it is. And I'm fully in support of exposing the whole sordid lot of snakes and believe fully that the people sharing this information with me want nothing more as well. But there is a concern, and that is this: how much can be exposed without undermining and imploding the very republic they're trying to preserve? We're just talking about that as you just see everything being attacked. Back at this Ben Garrison cartoon behind me, right? When you start taking out all the criminals, could it actually take down the whole republic as well? And so how it's done has to be surgical and careful. But anyway, she goes on. That's always been the big question. But now there's genuine consternation about it. This isn't about protecting institutions. It's about what happens if you pull that pin. I took all this talk as a bad sign at first. It was the first time they had talked about any hesitation to go too far. But over the course of the conversation, I was reassured. We'll touch on this at the end. Apparently, there are now two camps chirping in the boss's ear. One, those urging caution and taking it easy shots, the low-hanging fruit of the DOJ and FBI fruit, names we know, but not the lieutenants or the cabinet level. And those who want to expose it all. Number two, consequences be damned. Almost everyone I spoke with was in the latter camp, thank goodness. And they all believe the bosses too. But it's clearly a conversation being had amongst those doing the work. Here's the rub. There's not enough time between now and 2020 election to get the job done. So how much justice can be doled out without falling into a trap of it all being painted as a political persecution by the establishment media? Which is exactly what they want to do. Note, again, just look at the Biden-Ukraine story, which broke after I returned. The consensus from these people used to be, we need to get this all out before 2020 cycle truly begins to make sure it happens. And now there's at least a portion of them urging Trump to stretch out the indictments to closure over 10 months to score the maximum political impact. Because A, the cases are strong enough to sustain it, and a second term is needed to complete the job. I was reminded that if the internal debates are now about how to best roll out this evidence to secure 2020, then the case they have must be locks. They wouldn't risk the political spin unless they knew they had cases cold, especially the advisors thinking in terms of re-election. That was the end. Then she goes on and basically saying, hey, I know you might be upset about this, but guys, that's just life. I'm going to be just reporting on the truth here. So a great article from Tracy Beans here. Hey guys, but this does show that these guys are cornered and they're going to fight, right? So when they do have, Gene was talking about maybe a tactical nuclear or still control over some of those towers that we were talking about that control weather, etc. They're going to fight. And so that's why I want everybody to make sure that you're being prepared. And the basics of food and water is 101. That's why I partnered with Patriot Supply, right? Just go to Prepare with Rick and just check it out. You'll see, Gene saying 6 months of food you should have. I'm saying at least 6 weeks per person, right? And he's saying 6 months per person. That might be a little extreme, but he knows a lot more than I do, so I'm going to be careful there. But here is a great deal of over $100 off a 4-week emergency food supply that actually has reusable Mylar pouches, right? So it's really nice. And then they also have up to 25-year shelf life. There's 16 food varieties, etc. Great deal. Over $100 off on the 4-week food supply. There's also a 3-month food supply here. So if you have 3 people in your family, want a month, you would buy this 3-month food, and that even is cheaper than this. And they actually get 20 food varieties versus 16. And again, just they got breakfast, lunch, dinners. Both of them are 2,000 calories a day. Again, this is something that you will need to have on hand if somehow if you wait till after the grocery stores are closed down, etc., and raided, that's not the time to do it. To prepare beforehand. And obviously, you got to go to Water with Rick if you want to get the filter. That's still in stock, so they're doing a better job. They finally realized after selling out 3 times. So go to Water with Rick to get the filter, because you can't cook any of this food without good water, right? And then also with Prepare with Rick to get the food. That'll be important in these times. Hey, Tiffany Fitzhenry's been awesome. She's been on the Matrix show, and she's just really a whistleblower in Hollywood. She was with one of the Disney shows, I believe, as a child actor, and was completely abused. So she's whistleblown big time. So we need to pray for her safety, Tiffany Fitzhenry, so they don't, Cappy her. I haven't Cappy her. But she reports, this week alone, eBay CEO stepping down, Juul CEO stepping down, WeWork CEO stepping down, Volkswagen CEO indicted, Nissan CEO charged fraud, ComScore CEO charged fraud. Are the elite reading the tea leaves yet? The rule has ended. There's nowhere to hide. Woo! I tell you what, that is Tiffany speaking truth. We need to get Resonation Ann on. He was on the show a couple months ago to kind of update us on all these new CEOs resigning and or being indicted. Lot going on. Here's kind of a parody comment saying the burning platform is talking about the Nobel Peace Prize committee informs Trump he has not launched enough drone strikes to qualify. So this is making fun of the fact that Mr. Obama, he actually used massive amounts of drone strikes, right? And got the Nobel Peace Prize. He was basically killing people, right? So this is now he says, yeah, you've dabbled in attacks, but what we're really looking for is someone who's really committed to a secret drone war, said the spokesman of the committee. Look at the previous winners like Barack Obama. Now there's a shining example of someone who achieved world peace not through lame diplomacy, but by blowing up foreigners with impunity. So obviously this is a parody making fun of it, exciting, but it really shows that the Nobel Peace Prize is an absolute joke. Just a thought about Q. The hunters become the hunted? Hunter Biden. Q is such a good troll. So Hunter Biden being using to hunt his dad. And he's being hunted himself as well. So nice first name there, Hunter. I like it. Here we are, Trump talking about more things. Here's Sarah Carter. Barack Obama and Joe Biden gave Ukraine $2.5 billion during their 8 years in office. Do you think a U.S. president has the right to question corruption before giving our dollars away? This is a Hill article talking about just that, right? It's like the U.S. embassy pressured Ukraine not to investigate liberal mega donor, and a whole article by Sarah Carter talking about just that. That you'll be in the show notes. Again, you're going to go to blessed2teach.com with blessed with a number 2 teach.com, and it's really easy to do. I'll show you at the end of the show to send me an email and just check a box, or go to the first page and just scroll down and get on the email to get the show notes sent to you after each show. I think here's a Reddit thing talking about that Reddit is suffocating the Donald. So as you know, on Reddit, we used to have the Great Awakening site, which was tons of Q posts that was easier to follow than it would be the 8chan boards, which are a little cryptic and tough and hard to filter through everything. So when you had the voting on Reddit, it worked extremely well. Well, they used their censorship to close it down. So Reddit is a complete deep state operative techno company, right? That is completely Silicon Valley controlled by the deep state. And now, but what they left was the Donald, and the Donald guys that were actually over that didn't allow for any Q posts, didn't allow for any supposed conspiracy theories, and it just exploded with Donald Trump. But now they're doing one of the most important communities of Trump supporters is being destroyed. In June of 2015, Donald Trump rode down the golden escalators of Trump Tower in the New York and announced his intention to run for president of the United States. Shortly after, on the popular news aggregation website Reddit, the Donald was born. It quickly became the favorite hangout of influencers, politicians, pundits, gamers, trolls. I'm going to blow this up a little bit bigger for you guys. You can see here, and your average everyday Trump supporter. The burgeoning online community was vibrant, engaged, and vocal. It was in many ways the digital embodiment of America's enthusiasm for the alternative to established politics that Trump represented. The Donald had it all under one roof. What made the Donald unique was that, cloistered in the world of Reddit, none of the negative coverage or misrepresentations of the mainstream media were ever able to dampen the spirits of its members. While the members of Our Politics, another popular group, would lose their collective minds about every new piece of fake news, the Donald was steadfast, busy mocking each and every person who dared to stand against their leader, who users lovingly referred to as the God Emperor Trump. It was a rowdy, nonstop Trump extravaganza replete with dark memes, red pills, and reference to taking the red pill in the Matrix, testimonials, campaigns, and encouragement for those doing great work in the online world. A profound sense of community and camaraderie was fostered by this atmosphere that is rarely seen online. The Donald grew at breakneck speed, quickly growing to more than 760,000 members. That's probably being suppressed, by the way. I know the Q movement was completely suppressed. The fellowship was strong and the mission was clear: get Donald elected to the White House. And in this mission, Donald was widely successful, earning one of the top 2 spots in all of the internet for creating and disseminating the most effective viral content the world had ever seen. Donald played an important role in the memeing President Donald Trump into the White House. But Reddit's progressive administrators couldn't tolerate that. So they decided to put their thumb on the scale and enter the hall monitors of Silicon Valley. Before discussing how Reddit's administrators have throttled Donald, we should discuss how Reddit works. And I'm not going to get into all that, but the basics, I'm just going to read the headlines now and these sidebars. In a single weekend, more than 85,000 people unsubscribed from R News and similar subreddits because their questions and posts were being unjustly removed. So that's how they're killing it. So it's just more silence in this conservatives at all cost is what this is all about. Reddit has established a template that other social media companies can model to effectively silence conservatives. This strategy slowly turns down the volume on conservative users and platforms instead of banning them outright. It's exactly what's happening now. So people are actually voluntarily leaving. That's why I never go on Reddit anymore unless I'm going to look for another format like votes down, and I have to go see SB2's posts on there. The Donald's very existence is proof of how important platform access is to the conservative movement. This is why, guys, I really enjoy you guys go visit stopbitburning.com. So Dustin Nemos and a bunch of truthers like myself are there to literally have a high-class lawyer. We are in the midst of more summits. So if you're a truther, if you believe in the censorship needs to be fought directly, then go to stopbitburning.com, and join us there for the conversation. And we're gonna fight them tooth and nail on this, because what they're doing is absolutely wrong. And then this goes on and for a little bit longer, but a good article. If you want to see the more detail, go to blessedtoteach.com, as we talked about. Now I'm not gonna have time to go over this whole thread, but it is but let me get into the beginning of it, and I'll give you a flavor for it. Dear Patriot, please read this thread of tweets before my account gets closed by Twitter. More than 90% of the high-ranking officials in Iran's terrorist regime are under the command of 8 people in Iran. It's interesting to know that 7 of the 8 were the head of the Office of Official Advisors to the wife of former Shah of Iran, and later on formed the terrorist IRGC, Mullah Markham Saranzi. One of the filthiest of the 8 was a friend of Shah and received an award from the Shah himself. The Shah regime established the Islamic Republic regime. In the IR regime, will try to bring back the British puppets in case it fails. According to sufficient authentic documents, the Iranian regime, Britain, and Russia have spent nearly $10 billion on the Plavis propaganda campaign. So this goes on for quite some time, talking about all the Iran propaganda, if you want to go dig into it, and how the poor people of Iran are just being completely dominated by tyrants here that hate Israel, hate America. But you know what's going on there? It's crazy. This is something I would really suggest. There's another Iran article here. But go to this right here. It's called Sheep Among Wolves. You can search this right on. You can find it in my show notes, but you can just type this in. Sheep Among Wolves, Volume 2. I watched this last night. I mean, it's a full-length video of about an hour and 53 minutes. Beautifully done. Showing how the mosques in Iran are almost empty a lot of times, because the extremism there, the people are seeing, and they're turned off by it. And Jesus is showing up there. The Church of Iran is growing as the fastest church in the world of growth right now, by far. Thousands of people coming to Christ every single month. It's amazing to see. And this video shows you why and how we can learn from it as our church in the West, with a much more decentralization, much more empowering women, much more empowering young people, much more empowering new believers right away to get into leadership. It's a completely different way of thinking. They are falling in love with the Jewish people. It's amazing to see that the people that understand the biblical word and get into it, you have this arch enemy, supposedly, Iran, of the Jewish people. And they're falling in love with the Jewish people. And so right within this extreme country that persecutes them so harshly, beautiful, beautiful rendition to show what's going on in Iran. You'll see here below is the UN Security Council meeting on Iran. This part of the speech by Iran's representative in this meeting was omitted by all the media in the world in a united act and at the same time. If it hadn't happened, we would have been known globally and Iran's regime would have been changed by now. This shows that they are all being ruled by one specific group. So listen to the shaky voice of Iranian's regime and the fear of restart operation. The video speaks for itself. The meeting only was held because of restart and the suppression of the uprisings by the regime in Iran. But in his speech, Iran's representative stated that America wants to change the regime by the help of the restart opposition. This is a lot of these Christians that are starting to come. Here's this guy scared.
We have hard evidence of the violence in Iran by a handful of the protesters, in some cases resulting in the deaths of policemen and security officers, being very clearly directed from abroad. These violent elements surfaced in the crowd as early as Friday evening last week.
I'm not going to play that whole thing, but it gives you an idea of his shaky voice and lack of confidence as they are getting incredibly, just similar to other things. So somehow I saw somebody called Q drop, and I'm going, wow, there's a Q drop. So anyway, the whole point is the Iranian regime then demanded Admiral Donald Trump to hand Hosseini, and you can see this restart leader who lives in California, over to them, and added that the regime had asked Telegram founder at Durov to close Hosseini's account in Telegram, and they had done so. And after that, Facebook and Instagram shut down more than 50,000 Restarty accounts. So you can see, again, they're using their techno deep state operatives to basically shut down this. So we just need to be praying for the people of Iran. A lot of persecution of the church there, but it's growing like mad. And I tell you what, this whole thing playing out worldwide is amazing. I knew that there was going to be big things happening in America, but just to see what's happening in Ukraine now, we'll see what's happening in China, we'll see what's happening in the Yellow Vest protests, see what's happening now in Iran is just amazing. God is wonderful. His hands on this world right now, basically denying the timeline of the enemy, as Mark Taylor would say. Right. Let's see what else we have here. House Freedom Caucus moves to censure Schiff for making up parts of the transcript. So that, you probably have heard that before. That's kind of interesting that's going on. Here is the DNC takes out $10 million credit line. That was interesting. This was back in June of 2019, but it just shows you that they're while Trump is getting all this cash in because they're being so stupid. Here's Candace Owens. What the left fears more than anything are white people and black people coming together and loving their country. This is why they are doing absolutely everything in their power to break us up, right? Everything in their power to inspire a race war. Class and racial warfare are essential to their party platform. And it goes on for here, but this Candace Owens is, wow, pray for her as well. She's just been a dynamo and doing so awesome in just waking up and letting people know the truth. I'm going to put in my show notes a new QAnon site that somebody sent me that just got some great information on Q, explains it pretty well in a different way, in a little more exciting way, and it's talking about support citizen journalism, and so go get OBS and try your own YouTube channel. It's pretty easy. If you go get OBS, Online Broadcasting System, just go, how do you use OBS? And you could be firing out a video here real shortly if you want to become a citizen journalist on YouTube yourself. And we need all the voices we can out there. In fact, the demand for QAnon videos is way higher than what the supply is. So I know there's a lot of people doing it, but still, there's huge demand. And it's being obviously You're still going to have your censorship. You're going to have to put up with that type of stuff. But we need everybody. Here's an article on the storm. I haven't had a chance to dig into this. I might report on this a little bit tomorrow. But just want to look. I'll put it in the show notes so you guys can be ahead of me if you would like. Here's another. I'm not going to have time to go over also this climate change. This climate change thread. I'll go over that tomorrow as well. Beautiful thread on how this guy was a climate change guy that believed everything, and then he found out he was lied to once, then twice, then 3 times. Then I read the current data. Then I realized they've been exaggerating and fear-mongering headlines for decades. So dark to light happening on climate change as well. We'll dig into that a little bit more. And then we'll the rest of this news I'm going to get into tomorrow as we go into Sunday show. I'll try to go live about 4 p.m. CST. 4 p.m. CST tomorrow. Again, where you'll get all my show notes is right here. You just come to the blessed2teach.com with the number 2, blessed2teach.com, and you'll scroll down and you can just put your email right here and boom, subscribe to the newsletter to get, to subscribe to the email list to get those sent to you after each show. Here's a SoundCloud, Stitcher, Spotify, iTunes, and iHeartRadio. Is the podcast I'm on as well. You can scroll down here. I really do appreciate all my Patreons as well, and my PayPal people. You guys are really the ones that have allowed me to invest in things like this new searchy tool I'm coming out with, and the cultural impact system to really help us organize and form communities to actually taking action, to help us red pill our friends, to help us fight this battle with our family members, to when everything's going against them, to make sure they're raised and understand the Lord, just to really have a community of people to support each other, that love each other, that are red-pilled Christian supporters, Trump supporters. I call it red-pilled Christian Trump supporters. Those are my 3 things that I really think we all need time to go through. Damien saying, do you have that link to the border wall progress? I'm not sure exactly, Damien. Somebody has going to send that to me. I'm not sure exactly what you're talking about, unless you're talking about Colfage, about where he's doing he raised $25 million, is making some great progress. So they should search on GoFundMe and go Brian Colfage, or We Will Build the Wall. The people will build the wall. So there's more stuff that Trump's got out as well. Now, you can also just come to the top here and go to Contact Us. And if you go to Contact Us, you'll be able to write me an email right here, as well as subscribe and kill 2 birds with 1 stone if you would like to do that. Let me move to a prophecy by Mark Taylor. He's really into purging the temple. On April of 2016, he wrote about this well before the election, talking about the 501c3 and the problems with it. It says, the Spirit of God says, the 501c3, those that are eating it are not eating from my tree. For I told Adam and Eve, do not eat from the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, and you shall surely see. So it is with those that eat from my 501c3. For this demonic document that you have signed has now made you spiritually deaf, mute, and blind. Obviously because of the Johnson Amendment. They purposely put it all in there to silence the church, silence the church. That's why they were silent during Roe versus Wade. And that's why we continue to, even though Trump's freed us primarily from this, for the most part, the pastors have been trained not to talk politics, which is devastating, not to go fight for what's right. Woe to those who continue to use this demonic system, for you will be exposed and purged from this evil cistern, the Spirit of God says. Can you not see that you are taking a bribe? They will say it's all about the money, and for that you shall be kicked out of my tribe. Taking a bite from the apple has taken you from a spiritual body to a brick and mortar, and has placed you under the new world order. That's kind of scary, guys. Basically what God's speaking through Mark here is it's like being in a new world order if you're using a 501c3. So get out of it. They've never taxed churches and nonprofits, right? So use a different construct that doesn't have the Johnson Amendment, and it's not the same that Planned Parenthood uses. For how can you be a part of my spiritual body when you have been cut off my head? For those that don't turn will surely fall as dead. Tear up the contract, repent, divorce Baal, and remarry me, and I will remove the spiritual blindness so you can once again see. Come out of this. Come out of this before it's too late, for my judgment are on those systems that I hate. Come out now, for I will no longer tolerate. So a lot of people are asking me, how do I find a church that's a non-501c3? And Mark Taylor's main response would be, hey, go to OmegaKingdomMinistries.com, start your own home group that he really thinks is going to be more decentralized. That's what the crux of how Iran's grown so well. It's decentralized, empowered believers, many of them persecuted that came out of prostitution or drug addiction, and they get saved and they are on fire for Christ, and they become leaders very quickly because they are sold out. It's amazing to see. And so that's one answer to it. Now, when you're doing nonprofits, etc., or companies, Mark's also talking against incorporation. I kind of disagreeing with that because you got to have some protection, legal liabilities, etc., and be some type of entity. And you can get caught for fraud if you're bringing money in and out if you don't have established structure. So I'm talking to Mark about that. He's talking about maybe a trust and other items. I'm working with my culture impact system to make sure we have the proper structure to move forward. That's not part of this demonic 501c3, right? So just FYI, that's where I am on that issue. Now here's Proverbs 3, 5, and 6. Some of the most powerful verses in the Bible, telling us to trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways submit to him, and he will make your path straight. So if you want God's help in making your path straight, what's this verse tell you to do? You need to submit to him. In what? Submit to go to church on Sunday? Submit to giving 10% of your money to the church? No. Submit all your ways. Everything that you do Monday through Saturday as well as Sunday. Submit to him. And we trust in the Lord with all our heart. And we lean not on our own understanding. So just think about, a lot of times we'll think, well, I think I can help God do this. Well, sometimes you got to be careful because God's already doing something. And it's probably better just to join him than to use your understanding to think where I'm going to go do something for God. Remember, God can create followers out of rocks. When he says, I can get the followers of Abraham, I can call out of the rocks. He's all powerful. But he does want to use you because he loves you. So submit to his plan versus your ideas. Just put your heart into it. That's the amazing thing when you'll see results. Let me pray. Heavenly Father, just thank you so much for this Proverbs 3, 5, and 6, and just the whole QAnon movement and these beautiful, wonderful people out there that love you and love their country. And Lord, there are some of these are all over the world, Lord. We just ask that you'll continue to expose the globalism and expose the evil everywhere and allow us to see it so we can rip it out. And Lord, I just pray that we can rip it out completely. I pray for protection on Donald J. Trump and the team of white hats in the NSA and military intelligence and other areas. I pray for blessings on everyone that's listening to my voice, that they'll give them a massive amount of discernment and wisdom so that they can understand what's true and what's not true. Or when I say something that's not true, I pray I'm corrected. That happened recently. I came around an incorrect statement from SB2 that made me open my mind, etc. But we corrected it quickly as we did more study. Back to the roots of really who you are, Lord. You are the Son of Man. You are the Son of David. And you're also the Lord of Lords, the King of Kings, the great Creator. What an awesome God we serve. Father, Son, and Holy Ghost. All is one God. Thank you, Lord. We love you. We want to serve you. Use us in a mighty way. We say these things in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen. All right, guys. Appreciate your time. We're going to be launching, again, depending on when I have to go to Detroit with my grandkid, etc. Hoping to launch next week the Backstage with Best to Teach. You probably got a little bit of that in last night's video if you want to go look at it. I played a couple of videos about exactly what that'll be, the 5 advantages of it. My 4K camera you'll be able to see me live 5 minutes before, 5 minutes after, as well as be able to, that's a 5-5 offer, and I should call it the 5-5 offer, right? But, and then after, if you can't make the live show, you'll get the recording of that, as well, and and then also the searchy tool where you can find the exact minute and second of all my videos. I'm excited about that, and I think it's going to be fun, as well as you'll be able to see them on these different platforms in case YouTube takes me down as well. So a bunch of advantages. It's going to be fun to work with you guys on Backstage with Blessed Teach, which hopefully goes live next week. All right, tell you what, let's wrap her up here. We have a Ben Garrison cartoon that I thought was just awesome, where you see this attack on this republic, and that we, the people, need to fight for it. And instead of letting climate change and the bankers and these crooked politicians and really people talking about the rule of men and not the rule of law, and not really bringing back what this republic needs, it's going to be an exciting few years here. And I'm excited to go through it with you guys. God bless you, and we'll talk to you next time.